Chapter 1. Marcus Webb was having the worst day of a thoroughly mediocre career. He was a maintenance technician on Nexus Station, neutral diplomatic hub where galaxies' various powers met to negotiate and occasionally avoid war through pageantry. Today's event was the Trials of Ascendancy, where monarchs selected champions to represent them in contests of strength and dominance. Pure political theater, the kind Marcus usually ignored while keeping life support running. Except station administration decided all personnel needed to attend to demonstrate respect, which was how Marcus ended up watching alien royalty parade their power. The Jacran Emperor selected a warrior who destroyed 3 combat drones in under 10 seconds. The Velthari sovereign chose a psychic who manipulated objects across the arena. Each selection came with displays of dominance. Then Empress Lysella of the Kithran Confederacy took the platform. Marcus recognized her. 3 months ago, he'd helped her navigate a crowded commercial sector when her translator malfunctioned. He'd offered directions without asking for anything in return, just helped because she needed it. The Kithrans were considered among the weakest species in the Council. They possessed no natural weapons, no psychic abilities, no technological advantages. Empress Lysella herself was small, and she moved with constant trembling that most species interpreted as fear. Other monarchs had made thinly veiled threats about her resource-rich worlds for years. She'd survived through treaties, but everyone knew it was only a matter of time. She stood on the platform now, trembling as always, and gathered monarchs watched with barely concealed contempt. "I select my champion," she announced in careful standard, her voice soft but clear. The arena went quiet. "I desire him." She was pointing directly at Marcus. The arena erupted in laughter. Marcus stared in confusion as every galactic power's attention focused on him. A human maintenance worker in a stained uniform, looking about as far from champion material as possible. "Your Majesty," a coordinator said carefully, "that individual is station maintenance personnel." "I am aware," Lysella said, her trembling intensifying. "I select Marcus Webb of Earth as my champion. This is my right under Trials Protocol." Chapter 2. The mockery was immediate and brutal. The Jacran Emperor laughed until his translator struggled to keep up. Even the human delegation looked embarrassed. Marcus was escorted to a preparation area. Empress Lysella arrived moments later. "I apologize for the surprise," she said without preamble, "but I needed to make this selection publicly, and I needed it to be you specifically." "Your Majesty, I'm not a fighter. You helped me 3 months ago in the commercial sector." She was still trembling. "You did not treat me with pity or contempt. You simply helped because I needed assistance. That's just basic decency." "It is rare, especially for my people. We are considered weak. Our trembling is interpreted as cowardice." She held out one hand, showing the constant micro-adjustments. "But that is not fear, Marcus Webb. It is adaptation." "I don't understand. My species evolved on a world with gravity nearly 3 times galactic standard. Our musculature, our skeletal structure, everything is designed for crushing pressure. When we operate in normal environments, it feels like zero gravity to us. We are constantly making microadjustments to avoid moving too fast, applying too much force, breaking things." Marcus stared, recalculating everything. "You're not weak. We are operating in an environment that requires constant restraint, and that restraint presents as trembling, which other species interpret as fear." She met his eyes. "For 30 years, I have allowed this interpretation because it served my people's survival. Predatory powers do not waste resources conquering species they consider feeble. That's defensive camouflage as diplomatic strategy. It has kept my people alive, but it has also made us targets for those who see weakness as opportunity. I cannot maintain the deception indefinitely." She was still trembling, controlled strength, not fear. "So why reveal it now? Why choose me?" "Because I recognized something familiar when I met you. You move through this station with the same careful restraint we do. You are cautious about your strength, aware you are operating in an environment not designed for your physiology. Earth's gravity is higher than standard, Marcus said slowly. Not as high as yours, but we're heavier than most species expect, stronger, more durable. Precisely. Humans are dismissed as unremarkable because you do not display obvious advantages. But you survive conditions that would kill species considered more advanced. You endure, you adapt, you tolerate pain that would incapacitate others. Licella's trembling intensified. I chose you because you understand what it means to be underestimated for adaptations others cannot see. Chapter 3. The trials began. The first was pure strength, lift and hold a weighted apparatus for as long as possible. Most champions manage 30 to 60 seconds. Marcus lifted it. It was heavy but not unbearably so, about equivalent to Earth gravity's effect on his normal body weight. He held it. At 2 minutes, judges looked concerned. At 3, mockery quieted. At 5, the arena was silent. He finally set it down at 7 minutes, not because he had to, but because Empress Licella nodded slightly. Enough. The second trial was endurance. Traverse an obstacle course designed to test stamina and pain tolerance. Marcus ran it like basic training. His human physiology treated the challenge as difficult but manageable. He finished in the top 3 times. The mockery had stopped. Other delegations were reevaluating. And Empress Licella was still trembling, but now Marcus could see what it actually was, barely restrained strength. During a break, the Jacqueline Emperor approached. Your champion performs better than expected for maintenance worker. Perhaps there is more to many species than their reputations suggest, Licella responded. Your Keithrans still appear weak. No, but one carefully maintained deception, when revealed at the strategic moment, can reshape diplomatic dynamics entirely. She was still trembling. I have a question for you, Emperor. How much force do you think I am currently exerting to remain standing still? I do not understand. This platform is standard gravity, 1/3 our homeworlds. Imagine operating in 1/3 Earth gravity, human champion Marcus. How much strength would you need to avoid launching yourself into the ceiling? Marcus did the math, constant restraint. Every movement would require deliberate control. Precisely. Now imagine maintaining that control for your entire life, in every interaction, while they interpret your careful restraint as trembling weakness. She looked at the Emperor directly. That is what Keithrans do, constantly, because revealing our actual strength would trigger preemptive attacks from species that built strategies assuming our feebleness. The Emperor's expression shifted as he recalculated 3 decades of assumptions. Chapter 4. The revelation spread like wildfire. Species that had made plans assuming Keithran weakness suddenly reconsidered. Powers that had considered conquest did urgent recalculations. Empress Licella's trembling was reinterpreted, not fear, but evidence of strength being carefully controlled. The trials concluded with Marcus placing in the top 5, not because he was exceptional warrior, but because human endurance adapted to Earth's gravity made him formidable in standard galactic environments. But the trials themselves became secondary to the larger revelation. You have made yourself a target, the Velthari sovereign warned. By revealing that Keithrans are not weak, you invite the very conflict you've avoided. Perhaps, Licella agreed. But I was already a target. The difference is that now potential aggressors must factor actual Keithran capability into their calculations. And if they attack anyway, then they will discover that a species that evolved under crushing gravity and has spent generations training to restrain that strength is very, very dangerous when restraint is no longer necessary. Marcus found himself adopted as official liaison between Earth and the Keithran Confederacy, not because he was skilled diplomat, but because he understood that underestimation is sometimes weapon. You used me, he said to Licella weeks later, to reveal your people's secret without it appearing premeditated. I selected you because you helped me without judgment, and because you understood restraint born from operating in environments not designed for your physiology." She met his eyes. "But yes, I also chose you strategically. A human champion performing beyond expectations created context for revealing that many species may be stronger than they appear. I am sorry if that feels like manipulation." It is manipulation, but it's also brilliant. Marcus considered the new diplomatic landscape. How many other species are doing the same thing? I do not know. But your species, humans, have spent 70 years being dismissed as unremarkable. Perhaps it is time for others to reconsider what unremarkable actually means. The ceremony where the feeblest extraterrestrial royal gestured toward an unremarkable maintenance worker and declared, "I desire him," transformed in historical record. Not a selection of champion for combat, but a declaration of war fought with reframed perceptions, proving that weakness is sometimes performance, that fear is sometimes controlled strength, and that the most dangerous opponents are the ones everyone assumed were harmless. Marcus returned to maintenance work, but with new understanding. That every species has invisible adaptations, that underestimation is sometimes defense mechanism, and that his own carefully controlled strength was mirror image of Trembling. On Earth, human diplomatic corps began reassessing their position. If Keithrans had been hiding capability for 30 years, if humans' own endurance was greater than most species realized, then perhaps the entire framework of weak species and strong species needed re-examination. And across the galaxy, predatory civilizations canceled operations and returned to strategic assessment, because the feeble Empress who trembled with fear turned out to be powerful monarch who trembled with carefully restrained strength. Her desire for a human champion wasn't romantic or desperate. It was calculated revelation that some species' greatest strengths are the ones they've learned to hide until the strategic moment demands showing them. And sometimes the most profound declarations of power come not from displays of dominance, but from quietly asking, "Have you considered that what you interpreted as weakness might be something else entirely?"